In a world where religion, politics, and power often collide in unexpected ways, there are stories that refuse to disappear, stories that continue to circulate across generations because they touch something deeper in the human mind. One such story surrounds a man born into privilege. Tale has traveled so far and lasted so long that it has become part of modern folklore. But beneath this rumor lies a much larger truth about religion, spirituality, misunderstanding, and the secret curiosity that shapes the heart of a man who would one day become king. The story begins decades ago, when the modern world was entering a new era of cultural friction, and the gap between the Islamic world and the Western world was widening. Yet in the middle of this divide, an unexpected figure emerged, Prince Charles, the heir to the British throne, speaking openly about Islamic culture with a level of respect almost unheard of among Western leaders. But why? Why would a British prince, a man tied to Christianity not just by faith, but by royal obligation, show such sincere admiration for Islam? And how did admiration turn into rumors of conversion? To understand that, we must look beyond the headlines and go deep into his speeches, his personal studies, his relationships, his travels, and the world events that shaped public perception. Long before he became king, Charles was unlike most royals. He was introspective, philosophical, and deeply curious about the world beyond his palace walls. While many European leaders spoke only of Western values, Charles often looked east. He explored traditional knowledge, ancient cultures, and spiritual teachings far removed from the modern British environment he grew up in. His interest in Islam did not come from politics. It came from genuine intellectual and spiritual curiosity. In speech after speech, he praised the Islamic world for preserving a sense of sacredness that he believed the modern West had lost. He admired how Islamic civilization saw no separation between science and spirituality, how mathematics, art, architecture, astronomy, and philosophy were once woven together within the Islamic Golden Age. He praised the elegant balance of Islamic architecture. These were not ordinary comments. These were not typical political gestures. These were reflections of a man who saw something valuable in a religion that much of the West misunderstood. And for millions of Muslims around the world, this was shocking, because in a world filled with negative narratives, stereotypes, and political tension, here was a Western prince speaking about Islam with admiration, calmly, respectfully, and thoughtfully. Then, something happened that changed everything. Charles began learning Arabic. Officially, he said he wanted to understand the Quran in its original language. This one detail ignited global speculation. The future King of England, studying Arabic, reading the Quran, trying to understand Islamic theology directly from its source? For many people, this was too extraordinary to ignore. It didn't sound like diplomatic curiosity. It sounded like personal interest, deep, private, spiritual interest. And that was the starting point of a rumor that would last longer than anyone expected. The rumor first appeared through followers of a Sufi sheikh in Cyprus, who claimed that Charles was exploring Islam on a spiritual level. No proof was offered, no documents, no statements from Charles himself, but the idea spread like wildfire. Taken part in private spiritual discussions, and shown interest in Islamic metaphysics. Whether true or not, every new story added more fuel to the fire. The rumor grew so large that Buckingham Palace had to respond directly. Their answer was firm. Prince Charles had not converted to Islam, publicly or privately, and had no intention of doing so. They emphasized that he was heir to the British throne and future, head of the Church of England, a role that required him to remain Christian. But the public didn't stop talking, because while the palace spoke of constitutional rules, people looked at Charles' behavior and saw something unusual. They saw a man who quoted Rumi, who praised Islamic architecture with poetic admiration, who defended the Muslim world in speeches, and who learned Arabic voluntarily. For many people, this didn't look like a traditional Christian monarch. It looked like someone spiritually searching. Charles himself often spoke about the modern world losing its connection with the sacred. He believed society had become overly materialistic, obsessed with science without meaning, progress without morality, and technology without balance. He admired how Islamic civilization emphasized the harmony of nature, the idea that the universe itself reflects divine order. He admired the discipline of Islamic prayer, the clarity of its moral structure, and the emphasis Islam places on living in balance with creation. He felt that the West could learn spiritual discipline from Islam. But admiration is not the same as conversion. Yet in the public mind, especially in communities where Charles' speeches were translated and shared widely, the line between admiration and conversion became blurry. The more Charles praised Islam, the more people believed he might secretly be embracing it. And then came a statement that triggered another wave of speculation. In 1994, Charles said he wanted to be known not as defender of the faith, but as defender of faiths. To him, this meant respecting all religions, not abandoning Christianity. But many Christians reacted strongly. They accused him of weakening tradition. Meanwhile, many Muslims interpreted it as a sign of spiritual openness. The words "defender of faiths" became one of the most quoted lines in religious discussions about Charles. This statement alone was enough for many people to believe that Charles was distancing himself from exclusive Christian identity and moving toward a more universal spiritual philosophy, a philosophy that aligned well with Islamic mysticism, especially Sufism. And so the rumor once again gained energy. Years passed. The world changed. New conflicts emerged. New misunderstandings arose between the Islamic world and the West. Through all of this, Charles remained consistent in his message. He urged mutual respect. He challenged Western stereotypes about Islam. He emphasized that Islam is not anti-science, not anti-modernity, and not inherently violent. He insisted that Islamic heritage is rich, refined, and deeply intellectual. And as Islamophobia grew in parts of Europe, Charles became one of the few prominent Western figures defending Islamic civilization against oversimplified accusations. This transformed him into a symbol of interfaith respect, admired by many Muslims, criticized by some Christians, and misunderstood by the media. When he visited Islamic countries, the warmth of the reception was clear. Leaders welcomed him with unusual affection. Scholars engaged him in deep discussions. Architects showed him sacred geometry. Poets quoted Rumi, and Charles responded with insights that surprised experts. He understood symbolism, cosmology, the relationship between geometry and spirituality, and the unity behind Islamic art. These were not the interests of a typical Western politician. At this point, the rumor no longer needed proof. It had become a global belief. So why does it survive? The answer lies in human psychology. People expect political leaders to be predictable. But Charles wasn't. He was a prince learning Arabic, a Christian quoting Quranic principles, a Western heir appreciating Sufism, a future king praising Islamic civilization. To many people, this combination seemed too unusual to be purely intellectual. So the imagination filled the gap with theories of conversion. But the truth is both simpler and more profound. Charles is a spiritual seeker. He is fascinated by religions. He explores Christianity, Islam, Judaism, Buddhism, and Hinduism, not to replace his faith, but to deepen his understanding of the world. His mind is drawn to universal truths, timeless wisdom, and the sacred traditions that shaped civilizations. He once said that the modern world is spiritually fractured, and that humanity must look across religious boundaries to rediscover balance. This is not the mindset of a man abandoning Christianity. It is the mindset of a man searching for wisdom everywhere he can find it. Even today, as King of the United Kingdom, Charles remains the supreme governor of the Church of England. His role binds him to Christianity by law and tradition. Conversion is not possible, not politically, not constitutionally, not socially. But respect is possible, admiration is possible, curiosity is possible, and intellectual exploration is possible. The story of King Charles and Islam is not a story of conversion. It is a story of understanding, a story of a Western leader who dared to see beauty in a religion often misunderstood by his own society. It is a story about a man who saw unity where others saw division, who sought wisdom where others saw threat, and who believed that respecting other faiths does not weaken your own. It strengthens your humanity. In a world where religious conflict continues to burn, Charles's journey offers a powerful message. You can respect another religion deeply without needing to join it. You can admire its wisdom, study its teachings, and appreciate its philosophy while remaining loyal to your own tradition. And sometimes, respect is more revolutionary than conversion. So did King Charles ever want to convert to Islam? The evidence says no. The rumors say yes, but the truth lies somewhere deeper, beyond the question of conversion. The truth is that Charles saw Islam not as an enemy, not as a threat, not as a foreign ideology, but as a civilization rich with spiritual treasure. And in appreciating that treasure, he became a rare bridge between two worlds, showing that understanding, not fear, is the path forward. And perhaps that is the real story worth telling.